You want to change your life, then disappear, cut the noise, vanish from the circus, stop showing up just to be seen. Everyone's out here chasing likes, chasing validation, chasing approval, and they're broke, mentally weak, spiritually empty. You want to build something real. You build in the dark, lock in. That means isolation. That means discipline. That means waking up every damn day and doing the work that nobody claps for. No distractions. No parties, no wasted time. You lock in until the version of you that's been holding you back starts suffocating from your progress, and when it hurts, when your mind screams for comfort, you smile, because pain is a privilege. It means you're in the forge, you're not breaking, you're becoming. Rebuilding yourself isn't cute, it's violent, it's ugly, it's war, and you fight every day with the old you who's begging you to quit. This is your wake-up call. Stop talking, start disappearing, lock in, rebuild, and when you come back unrecognizable. Watch the world for a moment and you'll see a never-ending parade of self-promotion where the loudest voices eclipse real substance. Everyone's desperate for the spotlight, jockeying for fame, likes, shares, retweets, anything to prove they exist. Brands hire influencers to manufacture authenticity. Politicians stage optics to look authentic. They plaster their faces across screens, flood your feed with their so-called breakthroughs, and you swallow it because the world has taught you that visibility equals value. But stop for a second and ask yourself, does all that noise actually translate into power? Does flashing your name in neon guarantee the strength needed to bend reality to your will? Or are you simply feeding the beast of distraction, becoming a cog in a machine built to consume attention, not to forge real capability? Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. The crowd's roar is a facade. It's easier to play to an audience than to sharpen the blade of your mind. Out in public, every move is performed for applause, risk is diluted by the safety net of popular opinion, and your ego inflates on a diet of superficial praise. Visibility trains you to perform, to craft a persona that pleases, to chase trends rather than forge your own path. You learn to seek external validation because it's instant and addictive, but validation is a crutch. When the fanfare dies down, when the algorithms change, where does that leave you? With an empty stage and a spotlight that's moved on to the next act. Power, on the other hand, is forged far from the glare of day. It's built in silence, in the deep rev of your own thoughts, in moments when no one's cheering you on. It grows when you shut down the noise, turn off the notifications, and focus on the substance of your sweat. In solitude, you strip away the layers of performance until you confront the limitless potential underneath. You learn to trust yourself because there's no audience to flatter you, no crowd to shame you. You're alone with your ambition and your failures, and in those private hours you become unbreakable. That's where real strength is generated, when nobody's watching, when you feel like quitting, when your ambition is the only thing standing between you and defeat. Imagine disappearing from the public eye, not to hide, but to evolve. In the stillness of your own space, you rebuild your routines, your habits, your beliefs. You study, you train, you read, you plan. Every day, you do the work that's invisible. The early morning workouts, the late night reading, the relentless grinding to master skills nobody sees. And as you hone your craft behind closed doors, you become indisputable. You break free from the cycle of applause and disapproval. Your identity emerges from the quiet forge of discipline rather than the fickle approval of strangers. When you finally reappear, you don't need to shout. Your presence speaks volumes. Success whispers louder than any tweet or Instagram post ever could. Deals close because your reputation is built on quiet competence, not hollow hype. People follow because they sense the confidence that only comes from deep, unseen toil. You become magnetic without trying, simply because authenticity resonates more than any polished facade. And in that gravity, you discover that power never begged for attention. It commanded respect through undeniable mastery. So turn away from the crowd's demands, embrace the silence, let the world scramble for the next flashy distraction while you lock yourself in, push harder, and let your results do the talking. Because while everyone else is busy chasing their 15 minutes of fame, you'll be busy building something that lasts. Power that was born in silence, grown in solitude, and destined to change everything. Disappearing doesn't mean you're running away from your problems or responsibilities. It means you're stepping off the stage to sharpen your blade. While the masses scramble under the spotlight, you slip into the shadows with purpose, fueled by the knowledge that the greatest victories are planned in silence. You've watched people chase attention like moths to a flame, burning through energy and focus on the validation of strangers. Meanwhile, you know that true strategy unfolds behind closed doors, away from the judgments and distractions of spectators who can't see the blueprint you're laying down. You aren't abandoning the fight. You're preparing the ambush that will catch everyone off guard. In the darkness of your own making, you chart every move with ruthless precision. Every day becomes an exercise in calculated improvement. You learn a new skill, refine a habit, dismantle a weakness. No one sees the spreadsheets tracking your progress, the notebooks filled with contingency plans, the rehearsal of your future victories. You cultivate patience, knowing that the slow burn of preparation outlasts the fleeting highs of public approval. Your disappearance is not an escape. It is the first act of a grand design. Those who mistake your absence for retreat are blind to the fact that the real work, the work that actually shifts the balance of power, is happening where eyes cannot wander. The discipline required to vanish from the chatter is the same discipline that forges resilience. You silence the ping of notifications, the urge to broadcast every thought, the social calendar that demands your presence. In doing so, you reclaim your mind from external noise and train it to operate on a higher frequency. You feed your focus on substance rather than spectacle. You meditate on the moves of your adversaries, anticipate their reactions, and sculpt countermeasures that render their strategies obsolete. Each hour spent in concentrated effort compounds, building momentum so formidable that when you reemerge, you do so with a tidal wave of momentum that no amount of last-minute hype can replicate. Others will wander off schedule, crumble under peer pressure, and chase shiny distractions, but you remain locked on your objective. This isn't about anguish or deprivation, it's about choice. You choose solitude over small talk, long-term mastery over instant gratification, depth over breadth. You know that excellence is a layered achievement, not a viral moment. By disappearing, you grant yourself the clarity to see beyond the surface, to dissect complex problems, and to innovate solutions that others never dream of. You transform the void of your absence into the crucible of your greatest strengths. Meanwhile, the world around you will whisper questions. Where did he go? Has she given up? Let them wonder. Their confusion is your ally, a smokescreen that cloaks your true ambitions. As they hunt for you in all the usual places, you slip through their fingers, reappearing only when your plan has ripened. They will expect the same person who vanished. They will brace for the old version of you. Instead, you'll show up with new skills, new confidence, and a blueprint for domination that was drawn in secrecy. The dissonance between their expectations and your reality will immobilize them, giving you the crucial edge to strike decisively. So embrace disappearance as a weapon. It's not cowardice to pull back, it's tactical genius. You trade the illusion of visibility for the tangible gains of preparation. You trade fleeting applause for enduring prowess. You trade the noise of the crowd for the quiet forge where legends are made. And while they're busy chasing echoes, you'll be crafting the thunderclap that will redefine the game. When you lock yourself in, the world outside doesn't just get quieter. Every stray ping, every alluring notification, every invitation to come hang out morphs into a direct threat against your ambition. It starts small. A glance at your phone becomes a tunnel that leads you away from the mission you set for yourself. You think you're in control, that you can handle a quick scroll, a 1-minute break, but that's how the enemy gets its foot in the door. 1 minute of distraction breeds 10 more, and before you know it, the hours you vowed to dedicate to leveling up have evaporated into thin air. In that moment, you confront a hard truth. Distraction is the deadliest rival to your progress. It doesn't roar like failure or stand in your path like a wall. It slips in beneath your defenses, masquerading as harmless fun or necessary rest. You tell yourself you deserve a break, that you've earned some downtime, but every second spent watching someone else's highlight reel is a second stolen from the masterpiece you're supposed to be creating. You willingly trade your potential for a sugar-coated lullaby, and the pain of regret sets in faster than you can swipe back to work. To lock in is to declare war on these silent aggressors. You learn to see them for what they are, guileful enemies whose only mission is to keep you tethered to a cycle of comfort and distraction. You isolate yourself from group chats that derail your train of thought, uninstall apps that hijack your attention, and resist the temptation to multitask because you know it's a myth. Real focus demands single-minded dedication. You train your mind to reject every tangent, every frivolous impulse, until the baseline state of your consciousness is pure, unbroken intention. Discipline becomes your weapon. When the urge to check social media claws at your brain, you don't flinch. You stare it down, reminding yourself that every moment you resist adds to the fortress of your willpower. You schedule blocks of uninterrupted work, engineer environments where distractions are physically impossible, and build rituals that signal to your mind, this is sacred ground. Your morning routine, your workspace, your playlist, all are meticulously designed to cultivate an atmosphere where your attention can thrive. As the days pass, your relationship with time transforms. You start to see it as the finite, precious resource it truly is. Seconds cease to be trivial, and the idea of wasting them becomes intolerable. You move through your tasks with surgical precision, aware that the most ordinary activities, reading a book, writing a plan, visualizing your future, are the very engines of your transformation. No longer are you at the mercy of random impulses. You dictate your schedule, you choose the tempo, and you honor the covenant you made with yourself the moment you locked in. But make no mistake, this kind of tunnel vision has its own form of violence. You feel the pull of isolation, the sting of loneliness when you say no to every invitation. People think you're standoffish or obsessed, and they'll question your methods. Let them. Their bewilderment is a badge of honor. While they chase the fleeting high of social approval, you build anchored confidence that no external noise can shake. You cultivate a deep-rooted certainty that says, even if the world collapses around me, my purpose remains unshaken. Every late night you spend mastering a new skill. Every early morning you rise to push your boundaries. Every moment you resist the siren call of distraction is a small victory in the larger war. These victories accumulate, forging an unstoppable momentum that eventually lets you move through tasks with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. Distractions stop being nuisances and start being a testament to how far you've come. The louder they scream for your attention, the stronger your focus becomes. In this crucible of concentration, you redefine what's possible. You learn that true mastery isn't found in talent alone. It's discovered in the relentless refusal to be pulled off course. When you lock in, every second is an ally, every moment a weapon, and every distraction an enemy you've pledged to conquer. Look in the mirror, and you'll see the only true enemy standing between you and your potential. The person you've been, the version of you that hit snooze instead of pushing through that workout, that scrolled social media instead of reading a book, that settled for comfort when discomfort was the only path to growth. Rebuilding yourself isn't some gentle process of self-improvement. It's total war against every habit, every belief, every excuse that you once clung to. You have to hunt down your weaknesses like a predator stalking prey, tear them apart, and burn their carcasses so the old you dies in flames. This isn't about being kinder or gentler. It's about being ruthless and unrelenting. The battlefield is your mind, and every day you choose to let the old you survive is a victory for mediocrity. Every time you catch yourself reverting to old patterns, snoozing the alarm, compromising your standards, making small talk when you should be building skill, You're looking into the face of your own sabotage. That voice that whispers just this once is your traitor, a stealthy assassin slipping through the cracks to derail your mission. You have to turn up the volume on your internal discipline until it drowns out every plea for convenience. When the urge to quit hits you so hard it feels like a punch to the gut, you don't fold. You stand taller. You stare down your own reflection and say, "Not today, weak version of me." You reject every fragment of the past self that got comfortable in comfort zones and whisper to yourself that the battlefield is no place for the faint-hearted. To tear down who you were, you must be willing to dismantle every cornerstone of your old identity. If you defined yourself by the couch you lounged on and the junk food you inhaled, you burned that identity in the hearth of your new discipline. If you labeled yourself a procrastinator, you smashed that label with the hammer of punctuality and regimented routines. You catalog every flaw and every failed attempt as intel data points in your campaign plan. You scour your evenings for the hours wasted, your mornings for the potential snoozed away, and you claim those hours back with interest. This is surgical. You isolate each fault, scrutinize it, and excise it without mercy. You're not allowed to mourn these losses because they are the flabby tissue of the person you used to be. As you dismantle the old, you simultaneously forge the new. You weld habits into your schedule with the precision of a master craftsman. Cold showers at dawn, pages of reading before breakfast, strength training when your body begs for rest. You install non-negotiables that become the steel framework of your reborn self. Each ritual is a brick laid in the foundation of a fortress you build to protect your future victories. You populate your environment with reminders of this war. The journal on your desk detailing yesterday's enemy defeats. The vision board staring you down when doubt creeps in. The hourglass you flip every time you conquer distraction. Every repetition, every completed task is ammunition fired at the stronghold of your former self. In the chaos of reconstruction, you embrace the violence of transformation. You learn to celebrate the sting of soreness, the ache of disciplined effort, the emptiness of restlessness, because these sensations mean you're alive in the furnace of change. You bleed sweat for every inch of progress, and that blood paints the battlefield red with purpose. You don't look back to see if your old self is watching. You're too busy advancing, too driven by the roar of your own potential. The war has no ceasefire, no armistice. It's an ongoing crusade where every moment you stay true to your new standards is a decisive victory. And in that relentless grind, you discover that the fiercest opponent you ever faced was the person you once were. You scroll through your feed and you see them everywhere. People begging for applause, fishing for compliments, dangling their achievements like bait to catch a fleeting high of validation. They post photos of fancy dinners, boast about empty victories, and count likes as if they were gold bars. In their eyes, every heart icon is proof they matter, every comment a measure of their worth. But here's the raw truth. Chasing validation is like running on a hamster wheel. No matter how fast you spin, you stay in the same spot. Every well done you harvest is borrowed pride, a currency that evaporates the moment the spotlight shifts. Validation thrives on the approval of others, and when the crowd turns elsewhere, you're left bankrupt and desperate, scrambling for the next fix. Now picture someone else entirely. A person who doesn't pause to tally likes but digs in their heels to carve out real change. They're not concerned with who's watching because their energy is spent on a higher mission, transformation. When they wake up before dawn, they're not posting a sunrise selfie. They're pushing their body past yesterday's limits, cementing new standards of strength and endurance. When they learn new skills, they don't broadcast every progress bar milestone. They hone competencies in private until they become undeniable. They don't need the fleeting rush of validation because they generate a deeper satisfaction. The satisfaction of knowing they're evolving, of witnessing the slow alchemy of effort into excellence. The weak treat life like a performance, tailoring every move for audience approval. They adjust their goals to fit the tastes of the crowd, painting themselves in colors that please the masses rather than reflecting their true ambitions. They're like actors in a play, rehearsing lines they never wrote, chasing roles that someone else cast for them. But the strong don't audition for anyone. They're the playwrights and the directors of their own story. They set scenes in the quiet hours, reading, training, strategizing, and every action is a deliberate stroke on the canvas of their destiny. They embrace the solitude of creation, knowing that genuine transformation can't survive in the echo chamber of collective opinion. Validation is an echo that fades. Transformation is a force that carries you forward. When you stand for someone else's applause, your identity becomes as fragile as glass. You shatter under criticism, crack under indifference. But when you build your identity on the bedrock of self-forged improvement, you become impervious to the slings and arrows of outside judgment. Your confidence isn't a veneer, it's a fortress. You don't crumble when someone refuses to acknowledge your progress because you felt the burn of late night practice, the soreness in your muscles, the surge of pride when you conquer a challenge no one saw you face. Pursuing validation flips your power outward. You trade control of your emotions for the fickle whims of strangers. You post expecting applause, and when it doesn't arrive, you're hollowed out, desperate for another fix. It becomes a cycle of praise and disappointment, an emotional roller coaster with no end. Contrast that with the discipline of transformation. You set the bar, you enforce the standards, and you reward yourself with the tangible results of your labor. You don't need a crowd to cheer when you hit a new personal best. The shift in your own capabilities is thunder enough. You maintain power over your own narrative because you determine what success means and when you've reached it. When you focus on transformation, you invest in compounding growth. Every hour spent refining your craft, every sacrifice of comfort, every moment you resist the pull of shallow approval adds to your momentum. Over time, that momentum becomes unstoppable. You don't just look different, you become a new version of yourself, one so distinct that the validation chasers can't even recognize you. They'll see your results and wonder what happened, how you leapt so far ahead. Their eyes will search for public announcements, flashy reveals, but you won't need them. Your transformation will speak through your actions, the command in your voice, the precision in your movements, the certainty in your choices. You choose which path to walk. You can crouch at the footlights, clamoring for applause that dims as soon as you step off the stage. Or you can retreat into the workshop of your own making, away from the bright glare, and hammer out a version of yourself that even life's toughest critics can't ignore. Validation is a fleeting thrill. Transformation is the enduring power that propels you to heights you've only dared to imagine.